You were 28 years old when this occurred. Did you consider that that was a huge age gap and that she was a minor? Or what was your thought pattern about that? I got the impression this may not have been an isolated case. Did you work at other restaurants where something similar has happened?
Got back with his faith in Jesus Christ, and I believe that'll help him. And we're just here to support him in whatever he needs.
Okay, here we are. She was 16. He was 28. He might have been in a position of power over her, being a manager at the fast food restaurant. And maybe there was some indication of this being a trend. But given a 3-year sentence and serving 2 of that 3 and up for parole, let's see if the Steve Hoyle program and the classes give him the ammunition that he needs to say the right things and get paroled. With that, let's jump in.
Christopher Perkins, 782638.
Okay, Mr. Perkins, you're classified as a first felony offender. Your parole date is 3/26/25. Your good time date is 3/26/26. You're serving a 3-year sentence for carnal knowledge of a juvenile. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here to speak on your behalf today will be Betsy McQuarrie, your mother, and Terry McQuarrie, your father. They will be speaking via Zoom. We'll get to you at the appropriate time to let you provide your comments. Warden, do you have anything to say about Mr. Perkins?
Yes, sir. I have a DOC associate here that was over all the classes out here, and he wanted to say a few words.
Okay.
Hey, this is Jason Johnson. I run the sex offender treatment unit here at Bayou Dorchey. And I was just going to let you guys know that Mr. Perkins has completed all 4 phases of sex offender treatment as of February. Our credits look a little different in the computer, so it may look like he's only completed 2 phases, but he has completed all 4 phases, plus anger management, plus empathy and awareness. Everything that we have to offer that was appropriate for him, we have made available, and he has completed. And I do not believe he has had any write-ups or infractions in his time here.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, does he have any pre-release? Do y'all offer the 100 hours pre-release?
We do not have the 100 hours pre-release, no, sir.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Johnson. We was wondering about the sex offender treatment. Okay, so now we will go to your speakers on your behalf. Well, first off, tell me, what did you do to get yourself into jail, and why do you think we should consider letting you out today?
I was just at a bad place in time whenever I made my mistake, and I have learned from my lesson, and I feel guilty about what I've done. And I have a huge goal that I'm trying to complete in life, with finishing up my college degree, opening up a business, and everything.
Okay, and so what was your offense, and what did you do? I mean,
My offense was carnal knowledge, and I had intercourse with a minor.
okay. How old was the minor?
16, about to turn 17.
Okay. Okay, I'm sure Ms. Ledoux will get into further questioning. So at this time, we will hear from your mother, Ms. McQuarrie.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what do you have to say about your son?
Well, I just wanted to let him know that we love him. We don't condone his actions. We think the appropriate punishment has been served. I think he's made a valuable effort with his time to evaluate his situation and get himself together. He's completed all classes. I think he has remorse for his actions. I think that his biggest mistake was turning away from his faith in God, and I believe that this action and his consequences have brought him back to that. And if he is released, that I would hold him accountable and help him to succeed in everything that he does. And we love him very much.
Would he be residing with y'all if he's released?
No, sir, he wasn't. He already has a house we have set up, and he already has a job waiting for him when he gets home. But I would provide anything necessary to my ability to help facilitate him becoming a productive member of society.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. Okay, Mr.
you.
McQuarrie?
Yes, I would like to reiterate on the same thing that she said, that we're here for him, we love him, and we know he made a mistake. We do not condone what he did, but we think he has used his time that he's had there to try to do better for himself, and so he could be a productive part of society. And as she said, we're here to help him in any way he needs. He already had his house set up and a job, and he has got back with his faith in Jesus Christ, and I believe that will help him. And we're just here to support him in whatever he needs. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate both of you joining us today. Okay, your case has been assigned to Ms. Ledoux. Ms. Ledoux, would you ask your questions, please?
Yeah. Mr. Perkins, in reading your file, I got the impression this may not have been an isolated case. Did you work at other restaurants where something similar has happened?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay, so this is the only time this happened with one individual,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? In taking the Steve Quayle class and the sex offender classes, what was the most important thing you learned?
The most important thing that I learned was that I didn't need to be focused on myself. I need to be focused on productivity throughout life to succeed in life, and not to be of a person who does these crimes.
You received a 3-year sentence and you've served half. Is that correct?
Yes, I've served 2 years now.
2 years. You were 28 years old when this occurred. Did you consider that was a huge age gap and that she was a minor? Or what was your thought pattern about that?
Yes, like I said earlier, I was in a bad state of mind at the time it happened, and I was just down on myself, just bad. After it happened and everything, I felt bad because of the age gap and everything, and I knew it was not right.
Right. You'll be required to continue to have sex offender classes when you are released?
I have no idea on that, ma'am.
Okay.
But if I do need to take some more classes, I will.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, I have no questions. Ms. Renatson?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, I think the panel's ready to vote. You ready to vote?
At this time, sir, I believe that a 3-year sentence was light. I'm very pleased that you have your sex offender treatment. My vote today is to deny parole based on the age difference and you haven't had your pre-release yet. You have to have that by law.
Ms. Renatson?
I agree, Mr. Perkins. You know, the law requires that you have the pre-release programming before you can be released. You haven't had that. I'm pleased you completed the sex offender treatment. Your response about what you got out of the sex offender treatment program is a little disappointing to me, but nonetheless, you completed it and participated as has been stated. But today, my vote is to deny.
And today my vote would have been to grant, because I like people to have a little supervision when they get out. But as you know, the vote is 2-1, so today your parole has been denied. Good luck to you, sir. And thanks for the participation, at Bayou Dorset. We really appreciate it.
Okay, and that's a denial, and we're about to watch another case. This person was 18 when he committed the crime against an 11-year-old. You'll have to listen to his excuse. He had no idea how old she was. He was convinced that she was much older, and his whole story falls apart real quick. And with regards to the parole hearing we just saw, we don't have any information on it. Lady Holly couldn't find anything. Remember, it's just a child. And I have a feeling that there was something much more to it. Miss Ledoux is touching on the fact that maybe he had done this at other restaurants. You know, in Louisiana, you don't just get 3 years when, you know, there's usually something more. Usually you'd get, you know, they don't care that much to lock someone up. So I have a feeling there was something more. It was a little bit hinted to, but we didn't get the picture of it. But then again, you never know. But anyways, let's watch this one. This one is just something else. 11 years old, but he did get a 20-year sentence. So at least he got that, but let's jump in.
DAQUAYLON BRUTON, 745-946.
Okay, DAQUAYLON. First off, tell us, why do you think we should grant you parole today and what you did to get in there?
The reason why I am incarcerated is because I was messing with a younger female that I had no business messing with. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea that she was that young. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why I think y'all should let me make parole is because I have learned a lot through this time I have been in jail. And I have experienced a lot, you know what I'm saying? I won't make the same mistake twice. I would love to be, you know what I'm saying, out there again to try again. I'm just waiting on my second chance, and I hope this is the moment for my second chance. I've been in jail since I was 18. I was young at the time. I didn't know no better, but I have most definitely learned my rights and my wrongs now.
Okay. All right. You have no one here today to speak, so your case has been assigned to Ms. Renatson. Ms. Renatson?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Bruton, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Renatson.
So you're currently serving a 20-year sentence for indecent behavior with a juvenile and attempted aggravated rape, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how long you say you've been in jail since August of 18?
Since October of 18.
October of 18, almost 6 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and you said when you were speaking earlier that you did not know how old this victim was, and you were about 20?
I was 18 at the time.
You were 18. And how old did you think she was?
At the time, she told me that she was 16, and when this come about, it kind of threw me for a loop. That's why at the time I didn't know that, you know what I'm saying, until it come out. So
She was 11.
That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but this all happened at church services, and the girl's mother taught you at church, did she not?
No, I didn't know nothing about that.
What did it occur at church?
No, ma'am.
So tell us what happened. How did you know this girl?
I knew her through my sister. At the time, they was close friends, and she would come over to the house or whatnot. But I'm thinking that she was older than the age that she was saying that she was.
So it says in my report that, you know, after you read your rights and everything, that you admitted that your sexual involvement with the girl started at church. So how do you respond to that?
That I was trying to tell my lawyer until I was trying to tell my lawyer that I never knew this girl. We did go to the same church. I ain't gonna lie. Yes, we went to the same church. But as far as us sexual intercourse at church, that was not, no, that never occurred.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you know, the mother of the girl, of the child, is leaving the decision up to the board. She says she's not opposed to an early release for you. But what concerns me is, do you have your high school diploma or GED?
No, ma'am.
What grade did you finish in school?
11, but I come to jail my 12th grade year.
Okay. And have you been at that facility? How long have you been at that facility?
I've been at River Bend 4 years.
Okay.
No good
Has
time.
anybody ever approached you about doing the GED program, or do they have one?
They don't have one. They never.
Okay. And what about, are you in any classes?
This facility don't have no good time classes whatsoever.
They have any classes?
None.
No classes at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there's a, I think you need to have, the law says you have to have the 100 hours program. You heard of that program? It's a pre-release program, called 100 hours.
No, ma'am.
You have to work on your GED. And in addition, I think you need to attend sex offender treatment classes, because you score as a moderate risk to reoffend with a sex offense. So I'm going to sit back. That's where I'm staying right now in reviewing the record. That's what I see. So I'm going to sit back and see if my colleagues have any other questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no questions either. I think the panel's ready to vote. Ms. Renatza?
Yeah, Mr. Bruton, I think it's unfortunate that you're at a facility that's not offering you any classes. I'm not sure that I feel like you're being totally honest with me about what happened and how it all happened with the young child. But as I said, the law requires you to have some classes that you've not had the opportunity to take, but I can't grant you parole without those classes. And that would be the 100-hour program and getting your GED. My vote today is going to be to deny based on the lack of those programs, but I am going to make a recommendation that you be moved to a facility that will give you those programs.
Yes, ma'am. I still appreciate it.
Okay. Good luck.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Ledoux?
Sir, you've only served about 6.5 years of your 20 years. You have plenty of time to get some education and treatment, and my vote is to deny and hope that you're moved to a facility that will enable you to do that.
And I also concur, and we'll make sure we get you moved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good luck to you, sir. Take those classes.
Yes, sir.
River Bend at 10.
Well, I think the board handled this quite well. I think Ms. Renatza handled it quite well. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just imagine sending your 11-year-old daughter to church, and then there's this 20-year-old man that it's just, you can, where do you start? Where do you even start? And you know, you heard in there that they said the mother of the victim said she'd be okay with it. And you never know what pressure she has from the community to make that statement, or what pressure she's having from the church. So who knows? And I'm not going to on that, but it's just 20 years old, 11 years old. How do you wrap your mind around that? Now we saw one case where the one we just saw, right? He was 27 and she was 16. He gets 3 years. This case, he's 20, she's 11, gets 20 years. And I guess that's, I don't know if it's luck of the draw, if it's depending on the DA, if it's, did he just, or if it's even in the legislation. It's not clear to me. But what we will do now is watch a parole hearing of a man, really a monster in my opinion, who did the just out of stuff out of horror movies. You couldn't script it. You couldn't script it anymore than of a horror movie than how this crime pans out. And I know we didn't have anything to unpack in the prior two, but we have a lot to unpack in this upcoming hearing. Thank you, Holly, for that. So with that, let's jump in.
I remember raping her. I don't know about if it was twice or not, but I do remember raping her.
And did you have a some kind of serrated fish cleaning knife with you?
I had a knife. I don't know vaguely where I have gotten that knife from, but I had a knife. I had a knife.
Okay, and she ended up, according to the report, she ended up getting thousands of stitches. And had to have facial reconstructive surgery. Did you cut her up that bad?
I cut her up. I turned violent for some apparent reason. I just went into a violent phase, and I don't know.
Violent might be the understatement of the century. The victim, the survivor who fought back for her life, testified at trial that on November 8th, 1988, she was delivering newspapers. She was delivering her final newspaper at 5 a.m. in Sulphur, Louisiana. She stopped her car, left her high beams on, took her car keys with her, and made her final delivery. It was at that moment that she saw the man walking towards her. He had a knife. He grabbed her. She pled with him. She said, "I'm pregnant. Please don't hurt me." And what he did is unimaginable. Now, we are going to go into this commutation hearing where he is asking the board to recommend to the governor to commute his life sentence to a term of years so he can then apply for parole. Now, his support comes and speaks. 3 people speak on his behalf: his mother, his sister, and someone else. I skip over that because I just frankly, it's the microphone was not good. You couldn't hear it that well. And it was really the same gibberish that we are accustomed to. If you want to see what they had to say about him, you can find it on the Louisiana page. One thing of note, though, is that his mother, when she came up to speak, called her son the victim. Now, it could have been a nervous slip. It could have been who knows what. Maybe she, people are nervous when they speak publicly, but she did call her son the victim. She said, "I'm speaking on behalf of the victim." Now, let's go into this commutation hearing. I'll unpack it with the details of the appeal, which are absolutely brutal at the end.
All right, Mr. Griffin, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
Ronald Griffin, 127763.
All right, Mr. Griffin, let me just read some identifying information, sir. You're here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in 1989 in Calcasieu Parish for first-degree rape and attempted first-degree murder. You received life sentence on the rape and 50 years on the attempted murder. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Before we begin our conversation with you, I want to recognize some folks who are here with us in Baton Rouge. You have your mother, Miss Ella Williams. Your sister-in-law Shirley, your sister Consuela, brother Lester, and stepmother Susan Griffin. And 3 of those people will be allowed to speak at the appropriate time. We'll ask them to do so. First, we'd like to hear from you to tell us why are you in jail? What got you here? What'd you do? Why are you seeking a commutation of your sentence, and why do you think you deserve it?
I'm in here because of bad choices at a younger age. And I'm seeking now from after the years that I done been here, I'm believing that I am rehabilitated and I'm wanting a second chance.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I just feel like I made a big mistake from the beginning of my life. That's what I would like to look at it as. And God has blessed me with the opportunity to even come before this board to see the difference that's in me now. You know, even I'm older, but I'm not the same person anymore.
Ornamba, what can you tell us about Mr. Griffin?
Mr. Griffin has served 36 years here. He's a minimum B trustee assigned to the warden's office as a file clerk. He has a total of 25 DB reports, last being September 8 of 2017. He has completed 100 hours anger management. He also facilitates anger management. He has did both risk management phases, all 3 risk management phases, 1 through 3, substance abuse, and his target is low. He has no victim awareness. He started the class, but was unable to finish it.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Would you answer any questions he has?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Griffin.
Good morning.
Okay, sometimes when we go into these, it catches everybody by surprise. Exactly, you know, they don't know what happened. So I want to make sure I got the facts clear, okay? In 1988, you were outside of an apartment complex or somewhere, and a female newspaper carrier came driving through. Is that part correct?
Yes.
And you ended up stopping her and pulling her out of the car. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly like that, but actually we was drinking. We was drinking and I had took some drugs, some kind of drugs, and she was already out the car. She was already out the car.
Okay, she was out of the car.
Yeah, she was already out the car, and she was going to one of the houses or something, I believe. Yeah.
And did you take her into the woods, drag her into the woods?
Somehow we got there. Yes, sir. I'm gonna say it.
Somehow you got there.
We could end up in the woods. I was on drugs, so I didn't remember at all. Like, you know, and that was the first time that I had ever fooled with that drug before, so I don't remember exactly everything that went down exactly at that time, but I'm not trying to justify it. What I'm trying to do is just remember what I can.
Okay, did you rape her twice?
I remember raping her. I don't know about if it was twice or not, but I do remember.
And did you have some kind of serrated fish cleaning knife with you?
I had a knife. I don't know vaguely where I have gotten that knife from, but I had a knife. I had a knife.
Did it have a battery on it, or was it just a serrated blade?
No. No. It was just a fish knife, I believe it was, a fish knife.
Okay, and she ended up, according to the report, she ended up getting thousands of stitches and had to have facial reconstructive surgery. Did you cut her up that bad?
I cut her up. I turned violent for some apparent reason. I just went into a violent phase, and I don't know. I just went into a violent phase. I got real violent for a reason.
Okay, let's fast forward to the trial by jury. You were found guilty by a trial by a group of your peers, is that correct?
Yes, the jurors.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Jury found you guilty of attempted first-degree murder and aggravated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many years have you spent in jail?
Up to now,
Yes, sir.
it's 37 years and a few months.
You've been in jail 37 years. And what was your sentence after the jury found you guilty? What were you sentenced to?
They had sentenced me to, it was life with 50 running concurrent.
Okay, you got a life sentence for the attempted first degree murder
Yes, sir.
and the 50 for the aggravated.
Yes. No, it was I thought it was a life sentence for the rape and the 50 for the first degree attempt. I thought it was that.
Might have been, but you got a life sentence for one of them and a 50-year for the other to run current. And you've been in jail how many years?
37 years and a few months.
So you hadn't even done the 50 yet.
No, sir.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, and I believe in real rehabilitation and I believe in all of those, but when you have to justify the seriousness of the crime, this lady, the rest of her life was ruined. And she ended up, she's deceased now. But her whole life was ruined. Why should your whole life not be ruined? Quote, ruined, not that it's ruined in jail. You're doing a lot of good things. And you've repented, and I believe in repentance. But convince me I need to vote that you be commuted, your sentence be commuted.
I'm not saying that I'm worthy of anything. I'm just asking for a second chance.
Okay. All right. And that's
I'm just not the same person that it was back then. I was younger and I didn't have the right.
and I want you to understand, I truly believe that. I believe that you're not the same person. Okay, that's all I got.
Questions?
Yeah, I got one. How old were you doing the crime?
I was 22.
22?
Yes, sir.
Since you've been incarcerated, what classes have you taken to better yourself to support that you would never do this again?
I took risk management, the phases that they have in substance abuse, 100 hours, whatever, all that they was giving them to me as they was coming, I was taking them. And I spent a lot of time in religious and ministering. I spent most of my years here in ministry.
Did you take any sexual abuse classes?
That's what risk management is. I took those 3 courses.
What did you learn in that class? What affected you?
I learned that the most important thing that stuck out to me was your peer group, the people that you be around. It's gonna determine basically the way you're headed, what direction you're headed in. That was one of the most things that stood out for me. And I believe, and that's one thing I'm not into anymore, about any drugs or any drinking, and I used to drink and all.
Just say if you're released, what would you do then if you were released?
I have some people that I correspond with. from being here, and they had already said they would love for me to be like a motivated speaker, and I would love to do it, to speak to some of the younger guys, even though I do it here, you know, because I can tell them from experience, not from what I've heard about it, but from experience on what life was for me in Angola while I was here as a youngster coming in, or even on the street in society, thinking that I knew something when I did not know, until now, that what I had to pay, what it costs. It only take 1 second to change your life.
Would you continue taking some type of class to better yourself?
Yes, always. Yes, sir.
Or would
Have
you-
I took
No, I'm saying, would you, if you're released or whenever you get out, would you continue taking classes so that you
I
wouldn't
will
do?
continue to take classes if that's what it takes to do. Whatever it's taken for me to make it, that's what I'm gonna do.
Where do you plan to live?
In Texas, I have Consuela, she's there, and she's my the place where I was going to live, but then I also have other places where they wanted to help me, support me as I
Okay.
work with them.
Okay, I have no more questions.
Mr. Griffin, I see you're also a tier walker,
Yes, nurse aide.
nurse aide. Okay.
Yes, sir.
How long did you do that?
I did that for about 7 years.
And I think you went through the training twice, right?
Yes, sir.
Training. Okay, well, we appreciate that. We know that's a big job in the prisons.
Thank you,
Thank-
sir.
Mr. Griffin, Warden Ambo indicated that you started the victim awareness program and you were not able to finish it. Can you tell us why?
I wasn't able to finish when I started the victim awareness. It only lasts for like 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and the guy got himself into some trouble that was teaching it. So when he got himself into trouble, I went and got into another class, and we can't just swap over, you know. So I went and got in. I started facilitating anger management.
You thought about trying to, I'm sure they offer the victim awareness now again.
Yeah, they said it come back. I had went back when they kick it back off, but he said it was a list that I have to get in line for.
Okay, I get it. And your job is in the warden's clerk. What do you do there?
I work in the warden's office. I file the paperwork, and I cleans up and keep things in order.
Is that at the main prison? Where is that? Where do you
I'm
live?
in Camp D.
Camp D. Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Well, I just wanted to, you mentioned that you were under the influence of some drug that you'd never taken before. What was it?
It was described to me, and I don't know if this was the name of it. It was a sedative narcotic or something, and I remember during the court when they asked the psychiatrist, they asked 2 psychiatrists if there was some type of drug that'll have you to act out the way you did, and they said yes. But I wasn't really not a drug person. I was an alcohol. I would drink, and that was just something I had to experiment.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you, sir. It looks like we've concluded our questions. I think we're ready to vote. We'll ask Mr. Prater for his vote first.
Yes, sir, Mr. Griffin, I applaud you the way that the things you're doing while you're in jail and the way that you're really sorry for what happened. However, although you've been in jail a long time, you were sentenced to life plus 50, and 36 years is not even, as I said, the 50. Due to the nature and seriousness of the crime, the awful attack, I'm going to vote to deny your request.
Mr. Freeman,
I concur with Mr. Prater.
Mr. Ch0M0s.
Mr. Griffin, I applaud you for what you've done. I see the remorsefulness in you. You're trying to better yourself, and I'm glad that you are. My vote today is going to be to grant.
Right. So today, because there's only 4 members present, Mr. Griffin, it requires a unanimous vote. So you know what the outcome of today's hearing is. You know, I don't think we've mentioned to you, too, there's pretty strong opposition from law enforcement in the Calcasieu area. I know you said that's not where you want to go, but very strong opposition from the district attorney, the sheriff, chief of police. You just need to be aware of that. My vote today, I would give you a chance to commute your sentence to 99 years and let parole eligibility fall wherever it does. But because you've received a non-unanimous vote today, the outcome is that your application is denied today. Good luck to you, sir. That concludes our business at Angola. We're going to sign off at 11:53.
Y'all have a good day.
I am happy that they did not recommend to the governor to commute his sentence. Remember, this is not a parole hearing. The governor would still have to agree to sign it. It could be years before he signs it. So this was a long way out. But I just can't wrap my mind around how somebody would do that at 5 a.m., approach a defense. I don't know how old she was, but she's, they said in the court transcripts, between 2 and 3 months pregnant, a woman working, doing a delivery route, and to approach her and not only do what he does to her, but to nearly kill her. He was trying to kill her, and he's lucky that she fought back for her life, because she did. She beat him off. She ran away. We'll go over the appeal, because had he successfully killed her, I imagine he'd be dead now through the death penalty. You know, the only reason I can assume that he didn't get the death penalty was because she didn't die. That's my guess. And again, remember the family spoke on his behalf. I cut it out. If you want to see that, you can go to the Louisiana page, and also maybe you're just listening to the hearing. I know that I listen to most of my YouTube stuff and not watch. I was pasting parts of the appeal through the hearing. I'll go over the appeal now for those of you who are listening and also want to dive in a little bit deeper. But if you were watching and you like that I am copying and pasting the appeal as the hearing goes, let me know in the comment section. It takes probably twice as much work. Maybe I'll get better and more proficient at it if I do it more, but right now it's a lot of work, and I'm only going to do it if you give me feedback that you want me to do it, or if you don't want me to do it. And look, do you think that he was being genuine? Do you think that he was authentic? Do you think that he was actually remorseful? My personal takeaway is, yes, he showed emotion more than others show. Many are just like this. And I think that maybe he is regretful, right? He does regret it. But I'm not willing to let myself go there, and I'm also not willing to take the chance on it, because I think somebody who can get that violent, there's something I think just so deeply wrong with them that there's no guarantee they won't do it again. And you know, Lady Holly put in the comment section, we're not an echo chamber, so she put in the comment section, and I spoke to her before I'm sharing this with you to get her blessing, but she said, you know, she said, Mandu, as an SA survivor myself, I'm still willing to, you know, she said, you know, let me just look for it. Here it is. Look, I'm not one for thinking sex offenders can change. I have my own history, but you know, maybe this one is actually remorseful. And I don't know. Maybe he is remorseful, but for me, it fell flat. For me, it fell short. Now we're not an echo chamber, so you know, maybe he is, but just the way, remember, he would have gone through trial. He would have known the facts, and the sheriff's like, "Well, did you essay her twice?" He's like, "I might have." Well, what kind of knife was it? I don't know. It was, and then I thought that the question the sheriff was asking about the knife, maybe I'm thinking too deep into it. There's no mention of what type of knife it was in the appeal, but maybe it was an opportunity. Remember, he was the sheriff. He knows what it's like to interrogate people. He understands you don't want to give away the answer, right? So maybe it could have been an opportunity for him to say, yeah, I worked I worked I worked with fish, so I always carried a knife with me, right? That's what I did. That was my job. And then it could take away maybe one factor, but he didn't even have that excuse or story. It was he had a knife on him. He took a knife. That's like premeditated stuff already. And I don't know, maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but when you see how she fought back for her life, how he brutalized her in every way, how he fully intended to kill her, and I just how someone can have that type of rage in them, and then for not to permanently be somewhere deep inside of there is just a different level for me. And that fact that she's dead, and then now, and the sheriff almost like hinted to maybe there was something, one might only think that it has something to do with this. I mean, you'd have to assume it did, right? And it's not fair to say that, but it just leaves me thinking that. And then I hate the fact, I hate that there's no DA, there's no ADA, there's no one that speaks on her behalf. Someone needs to speak on this person's, on this woman, on this victim, on the survivor victim's behalf, because, 3 people came and spoke on his behalf. And like I said, I skipped it, but it's wrong. To me, it's wrong that no one's going to be there for her. So at least we can be the voice for her. And let's just go over this. Facts of the case. At trial, Leslie Ann Logan, here and after the victim, and let's say her name, Leslie Ann Logan, testified. She got up and testified. On November 8th, 1988, she was delivering newspapers for the Lake Charles American Press and arrived at approximately 5 a.m. at the housing project northwest side of Sulphur, Louisiana. The victim stopped her car, left her high beam headlights on, took her car keys with her, and made her last delivery at Building 18. The victim saw a shadow from the headlights and then saw the legs of a person walking towards her as she delivered her last paper. The victim tried to return to her car, but a man jumped in front of her with a knife in his hand. This person, who was later identified as the defendant, was a black male dressed in a dark colored t-shirt, a jean jacket, jeans, and tennis shoes. The victim screamed when the defendant jumped in front of her and asked him not to hurt her. The defendant responded that he did not want to hurt her, but wanted to make love. While holding the knife in his hand, the defendant grabbed the victim by the hair. So he starts out immediately violent. He grabs her by the hair. This is before she fights back. He grabs her by the hair, drags her to the side of the building where he ordered her to remove her pants. The victim resisted, and the defendant placed a knife to her throat and threatened to kill her. The victim complied with the defendant and ordered and removed the pants. At that time, the defendant raised the victim's shirt and put his mouth on her. The defendant grabbed the victim by her hair and dragged her towards the street. Again, this is someone who is innately violent. He also had a bad interview. I thought he was like, I'll take whatever programs you want me to take, right? And he didn't do much in prison. He didn't take programs. He had I don't know why you have Tillis that says yes, and then you have Miss Renata that said she would have said yes, but I don't know if she was saying it just to be nice. Tillis is something else. He's just something else. I can't with him. I really can't. They stopped in front of the victim's car, and while standing in front of the car, another car passed. You imagine that feeling of seeing a car pass and just that hope drive away from you. The victim was then able to clearly see the defendant's face. Because she had left her high beams turned on when she exited her car, the defendant again threatened the victim and told her that he would kill her if she screamed or ran. The defendant dragged the victim by the hair toward the woods. The victim kept stopping, but the defendant continued to pull her hair and threaten her with a knife. When they were further into the woods, they came upon a clearing by a ditch, at which time the defendant ordered the victim to lie down on the ground. The victim pled with the defendant not to SA her because she was pregnant. The defendant stated that he would not, and she was pregnant, 2 to 3 months, they said. That was part of the appeal. They said, hey, you can't bring that up in court. The defendant stated that he would not hurt the victim or the baby if she cooperated with him. The defendant SA'd the victim while he held a knife and threatening her. Afterwards, the defendant told the victim he could not trust her about not going to the police and that he'd have to kill her anyways. The victim, now this is when she fights back for her life, which she did. She saved her life. And in return, saved his, I assume. Saved him from the execution chair. Now, the victim tried to grab the knife from the defendant and then fell into the ditch. The defendant told the victim that she was stupid, hit her on the side of the face, and pulled her from the ditch by the hair. At this time, the defendant told the victim that he did not want to hurt her, but wanted to make love again. He then dragged the victim further into the woods and essayed her. And it's like, you know, he's like claiming that he was on some narcotic. He doesn't even know what it was. I never heard of it before. Yet he had memory enough to know enough things what to say, not memory for other things. Oh, did I do her once? Did I essay her once or essay her twice? I don't know. Yeah, I had a knife. I don't know, like. And he's, you know, able to, it's just, I don't buy it. When the defendant got up, he ordered the victim to stay on the ground. However, the victim got up and tried to escape. She ran through the woods and towards the apartment. As she ran, she hit her head on a tree. This is like, it's like those horror movies when the victim is running away from the bad guy in the woods and you bang your head on the tree. You fall down, and then here he is right on top of her again. The defendant jumped on her and tried to stab her in the chest. The defendant positioned himself behind the victim, who was still on the ground, and then sliced the victim across the face and yelled at her. When the victim put her arms up to defend against the knife cuts, the defendant slashed her arms and hands. The victim found a board and began swinging it at the defendant until she lost it. Here she is fighting back. The defendant then ran off, leaving his knife behind. The victim, so he runs off, leaving the knife. The victim picked up the knife and started towards the apartments. As she was exiting the woods, the defendant ran towards her with something in his hand. So now he changes his mind and comes back to finish the job. The victim ran to an apartment door, broke a window with her hand, and pounded at the door in the window. She actually punches. This is full adrenaline now. She's doing what she needs to do to survive. The occupants of the apartment testified that when they let the victim inside and assisted her and called the police and ambulance, when the victim entered the apartment, she dropped the knife on the floor. She was cut extensively and bleeding so badly that Miss Ward testified she cannot tell at first that the victim was naked from the waist down. That's how badly she was ripped apart. The victim was later transported to a local hospital where she stayed for 6 days. So what happened afterwards? The defendant was questioned by local police later during the day of November 8th, 1988. So it took a while for them to find him because this happened. No, this was the same day. Okay. During the questioning, the defendant mentioned the robbery of his apartment, and he was taken to the police station to identify some stolen property which had been recovered. Theresa Ward, the person who was in the car which drove by and who saw the defendant, so they found her, the woman who drove by. She saw him holding the victim. Can you believe it? She minding her own business. Unbelievable. She could have stopped it. She saw the defendant holding the victim in front of the victim's car. It was also the police station. You hear about this happen all the time. I mean, it happens quickly. You drive by, you think it's just a domestic dispute. You're not going to want to get involved. I know I'm being harsh, but it just makes it that much more traumatizing. I'm sure she regrets it every day as well. Miss Ward recognized the defendant as the man she had seen immediately and told the police. Although I wonder what made her go, they must have made a bulletin, and that's why she went to the police station. The clothes that the suspect had been described as wearing at the time of the SA and attempted murder were recovered. The defendant was then placed under arrest by police. The defendant was also positively identified as the victim while she was in the hospital and again at trial. The defendant admitted SAing and slashing the victim, but contended that he was intoxicated at the time it occurred. That's his defense, which is no defense. On April 26, 1989, the defendant was found guilty by a jury of 12 of aggravated and attempted On May 17, 1989, the trial judge sentenced the defendant to life imprisonment, hard labor without the probation, parole, or suspension of sentence for the aggravated essay and 50 years imprisonment for the first degree murder charge. And they were to run concurrently. And yeah, you can't get a second chance after that. You just can't. There's something, in my opinion, deeply, innately wrong with you, and you can't be trusted. And we see enough people who commit horrible crimes who get that second chance, and within months they reoffend because, you know, then they'll be, well, he's you know, he's what's the word called? Just used to prison life. I can't think of the word. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. I digress. I talk too much, but I think imagine if she had to be here to fight, to go through this hearing. But instead, no one was there. No one was there. But we are here to share her story. And with that, I'll let you go.
The seriousness of the crime, this lady, the rest of her life was ruined. And she ended up, she's deceased now. But her whole life was ruined. Why should your whole life not be ruined?